So the last time I did one of these videos, I think I started by introducing a new addition to my Pokemon game. In this case, it's Celebi, which is the March legendary for Pokemon's 20th anniversary. And of course, with it being the time travel Pokemon, you know I had to get this thing on, of course, the anniversary of the incident. That is something I had planned. And of course, now that I mentioned the Game Show World, I think I should also introduce you to a few other Pokemon that are related to the Game Show World. You guys are well aware of my Dragonite Tomarken. Here is Whammy the Darmanitan. Here is Gongsho the Dugong. Clark the Shedinja. And Kanze the Gengar. And I got plenty of other Pokemon that have a Regis Philbin related name. Mainly all of the Reggie Pokemon. Regigigas is Regis Gigas, for example, along with Regice, Regis Rock, and Regis Steel, as well as my Aegislash named Regislash. But that's not why you're here today, are you? I told you guys during the Tomarken Night promo that one of the things I was going to do was discuss the week of the incident from my perspective, because I don't know how or why this tends to happen, but there's a lot of weeks throughout your life that you can remember vividly. And the week of the incident is one of those weeks for me. In fact, that entire year is very memorable. Now, even though the incident is the main reason, there were other things in the interests that were mainly memorable to make 2006 a good and bad year. Now, the week of the incident, I remember clearly. It started with the Las Vegas race weekend, because NASCAR, the weekend before the incident, they were in Las Vegas doing their racing. And two of my guys at the time had won the races. Casey Kane, who is a current NASCAR Dozen member, won one event. And Jimmy Johnson, who is no longer a part of my racing crew and has been since declared evil, won the other event. Now, I thought it was going to be a pretty nice week considering what had happened, and everything was pretty good. I remember I was in school, and when I was in school, I tried to make my first burn CD, which did not go well because I messed up the procedure, so it didn't quite go well. I think I got like one song on it, and that was it. But anyway, the next day, which was the day I found out about the incident, which happened the day before, I found out that Tuesday, and the incident happened Monday. What ended up happening is that everything looked very good, and then I get home. Now, at the time, it was just my Grandma Gertie at the house. And when I got home, everything was set. I did my homework. About 30 minutes after I got home was my mom's update call, because back in 2006, my mom worked at some place, I think it was 35 miles away. But anyway, she had the usual phone call like usual. And after the usual chit-chat for about maybe 30 seconds, did you get home safe, get your homework done, and all that stuff. And then my mom decides to drop the bombshell. The first thing I remember her saying was, I got some bad news for you. And I thought she had to work overtime or all that stuff. And then she says, out of the blue, one of your game show hosts has died. Now, keep in mind, there were 4 members of the Game Show 6 that were still alive. And the instant thought was either Regis Philbin or Dick Clark, because those two were the oldest. So I angrily said, who? And lo and behold, he told me it was the youngest of the 4 that were still alive at that time, which was Peter Tomarken. instant anger freakout mode, and I go, what? How? And then she said plane crash. And 30 seconds of awkward silence happens after that. And I thought Mom had hung up at that point. So after the immediate shock get out of my body, I asked, Ma, you still there? It says, yeah, I'm still here. And she starts laughing at the fact that I thought she hung up on me. And when my racing buds came over later that day, I told them what I had found out, because they are not into game shows as much as I am, but they know how important Pressure Luck and its history is with me. So they hugged me and consoled me, and we didn't do the usual thing we did back in those days, which was play some games, did a few Pokemon themes. Let's see, 2006, I want to say I had not gotten my DS yet, so I was probably playing either Emerald or Fire Red. But anyway, we didn't do any of that stuff, we didn't do our main things. We just talked for a little bit to try and cheer me up and all that stuff. It kinda helped. And then after they left, at I want to say 6:30, then the rest of the mayhem started. Both Entertainment Tonight and Inside Edition made the incident their leading story. Now, you don't think that would ever happen with a game show host, but it did. And then we start finding out why he was in an airplane to begin with. It turns out it was his own personal plane. I'll get the words out in a minute. And when I heard the story about it was a medical flight to try and help somebody get to another hospital, it made me more upset than you could imagine. 'Cause if you really know me well, the vast majority, if not all of my favorites and all of my interests, are known for helping others away from their main area. And when I had found out about that, I remember that everything, it became one of those weeks that you figured nothing good was going to happen. And strangely enough, I was right on that. Because the incident that week actually turned out to be the beginning of it. Now, if you remember back to 2006, the next racing weekend was Atlanta. And that Friday is when we found out that Bobby Hamilton Sr. was diagnosed with cancer, and that Atlanta truck race that Friday would be his last race. If I remember correctly, he finished 14th in that race. I know Tabadine won. I don't remember who finished second. And I know it was the 6th truck, but I don't remember if it was Mark Martin or Travis Quapple. 2006, I want to say Mark Martin. And Johnny Benson finished 3rd, so that helped out a little bit after all the mayhem had happened. A pretty uneventful, back then, Busch Series race, which no one really remembers because of all the other stuff going on. And the main reason no one remembers that is because of Saturday Night Main Event. Yeah, the WWE show that was going on. And, it was a pretty weird deal. If you have the WrestleMania 22 DVD set, you can watch that very Saturday Night Main Event. And what happened was, one of the big events for me and Meredith was John Cena and Triple H Team Raw, which is Meredith's team, against Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, and Rey Mysterio, which was Team SmackDown. And Team SmackDown lost, and I was pretty angry about that, because SmackDown at that point was my show. Because my top 2 favorites in the wrestling world, well, that time 3, because Batista was one of my guys at that point until he angered me in 07. May of 07, not April. And, that was not a good deal. and the last match was Shawn Michaels versus Shane McMahon. And they decided to try and reincarnate the Montreal Screwjob. Not to mention, Saturday Night Main Event was in Detroit. So that was great. But then the main thing started to happen. You see, when the incident was found out by pretty much everyone in the game show world, GSN had decided to do 2 different tributes for Peter Tomarken. One of them, that Tuesday, was a rerun of the documentary Big Bucks, The Pressure Luck Scandal, which was the Michael Larson story and all that stuff. And they reran it at 10 o'clock, which I couldn't watch because it was my bedtime at that time for school. Displacing the 2-hour block of Chuck Woolery's Greed. So that was pretty nice. If you know about the rivalry between Tomarken and Woolery, you'll know why I said that. But then Sunday was the big one, because what they decided to do is that what happened is they decided from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. to have a 9-hour Pressure Luck marathon in Peter Tomarken's memory. And yes, I watched every last bit of it. And for once, the rain helped, because part of the reason I was able to watch all of that is because the Atlanta Cup race got rain delayed back to Monday. Now, the last hour I had to do some flip-flopping. When the marathon was on a commercial, I went to ESPN2 to watch the Gator Nationals, the NHRA event, and that was a ho-hum event. And I don't really remember much about the Gator Nationals because I was watching my Pressure Luck Marathon. And right before the ending of the episode, you know, where they announced the winner and all the prizes that he or she won that day, the very last commercial in every single episode was a memorial montage. If you go back to my Tomarken Night Unite promo at the beginning of the month, you'll see one of the variations of that commercial that was used. I had found that particular video during a Pressure Luck episode search. And then one of the cool things, as Rusty enters the room. Hey, Rusty. I was trying to enter the room, the door keeps closing on him. But anyway, what ended up happening is that everything started to settle down. Everything was pretty good. And then when the cup race happened, I got home to see Casey Kane win. That cheered me up a lot. Hey, Rusty, you want to come up here? You want to come up here, Rusty? Come here. Well, anyway, but the week of the incident basically started a chain reaction to make 2006 one of those memorable years, for good and bad. For example, not 2 weeks later, it was 13 days later, I remember this. Oh, come here, Rusty. Come here. Anyway, what ended up happening is that 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks after the incident, the next chaotic event started to happen. Because it was IndyCar season opener at Homestead. And that day, the Cup Series was running at Bristol. And unless you're Lungefish, no one remembers that because Kurt Busch had won the Bristol race. But no one really remembers that because, A, of the snow thing going on that week. And that's when Kurt Busch did a Snow Angel thing. And B, the IndyCar event had the major headline of the day because during practice for that event, there was a death rage attack against a rookie driver by the name of Paul Dana. Come here, Rusty. Come here, Rusty. Come here. Rusty doesn't want... Yeah, Rusty wants out. Come here. Yeah. Come here. Come here. Come here, Rusty. Come here. Want in the video? You want on the video, don't you, Rusty? Come here. Come here. Rusty don't want in video. Oh, well. Oh, now you want in the video. You want in the video, Rusty. Come on, Rusty. No, Rusty. I better finish the story before Rusty tries to make me make this an hour-long video. Just of me trying to get him to come over. But anyway, the Homestead race for IndyCar became known as the Dana Vengeance Duel. And I believe my music montage, or music video, featuring the preview intro theme for Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelist of the Roses, was also in, yeah, that video should still be on this channel. But anyway, what happened was, Meredith's IndyCar favorite, Elio Castroneves, went against one of my IndyCar trio, Dan Weldon, and Weldon had won the duel. He dedicated the race to Dana, and it made me reminisce about Tomarken. And then Kurt Busch won the race, did a Snow Angel thing, and unless you're Lunchfish, no one really remembers it. But 2006 basically became known as the Game Show Odyssey, because when you think about it, there were things that happened in 2006 that had not happened in the game show world in any other year. And the main thing that comes to my mind is two of the game show specials that was only done once, and that was CBS's Game Show Marathon, which I predicted to a T because of the incident, and the 50 Greatest Game Shows of All Time special done by GSN, in which I have every episode. But I don't have one of those VHS to DVD converter things, so I can't get them on there yet unless I use my camera. And my VHS is currently not in play, because they got a new entertainment center in the house I currently live in. But anyway, other things that happened, I want to say that Deal or No Deal was in December of 2005, so that could kind of get back on. It's like the second coming of Millionaire, but not really, because Deal or No Deal was more of a fad game show. But it once again spawned game shows to come to the major areas. NBC had 1 vs. 100. And I want to say they also had Identity. Either NBC or Fox had Identity. I want to say it was NBC. ABC had Show Me the Money. Let me see. Deal or No Deal, 1 vs. 100. Show Me the Money. Is that your Identity? Yeah, those were the 4 major shows that happened, and the majority of them, if not all of them, were related to 2006. Along with CBS's Game Show Marathon and the 50 Greatest Game Show special of all time. And here's the thing about the Game Show Marathon. I told everyone what was going to happen because I knew, based on the incident, whoever won the Pressure Luck episode would win the entire thing. Now, I'm not going to tell you who it is. You have to see it for yourself. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I was right. It was the... I even have the Game Show Marathon episode on my laptop, which I watch every so often. And the Game Show Marathon Pressure Luck episode did have a in memoriam picture for Peter Tomarken after their game ended, which I remember that very well because it was like an out-of-body experience for me. And the reason I say that is because when that happened, it felt like the picture was on for like 30 seconds. And then when I reviewed the footage, when I captured the episode off YouTube, it turns out it was more like 10 seconds. I'm going, that wasn't that short. I don't remember that. I remember that me and my racing buddies were watching that episode, and when the memoriam picture flashed up, everyone went quiet. Not a sound. And most of the Americans, I don't think Greenlight did, but most of the Americans ended up looking at me at the end of it. That was cute. But 2006, even though it was known for the Game Show Odyssey, there were 4 other, 3 racers, 1 wrestler, who vied for championships that year that really helped out. Now, the beginning of the year, Undertaker had a shot of getting the World Championship from Kurt Angle, and then Mark Henry grew in that, and they went to a casket match. I don't like referring to death, but that's why I keep saying cactus for some reason. Hey, what's the... Do you want in the video now? But anyway, Undertaker beat Mark Henry, and everything was here and there. And then it was up to Dan Weldon, Tony Schumacher, and Johnny Benson to save the day. Now, yeah, Jimmy Johnson was also on my backup squad at that point, and he did win his championship, but he was backup, and then later turned evil, so he don't count. Let's see, Johnny and Dan both ended up runner-ups to Talbotine and Sam Hornish, respectively. And the only reason Hornish won the championship is because of the way he won the Indy 500 that year, so And the only reason that Bodine won the championship is because Benson got raged out by a few weird things going on. Mainly a bunch of spins and unlegit crashes. 2006 was also the year that Johnny won his first truck race at Michigan, so that was very helpful. That was against Mark Martin, which reincarnates his 02 Cup win. And Tony Schumacher is really what saved the year in terms of auto racing for me, and helped out with the Game Show Odyssey. Give me a Westy. Yeah, come on. But anyway, what ended up happening is that if you type in Tony Schumacher The Run, I'm sure you're going to find the 2006 finals. Watch that, because that was pretty cool. And I also remember in 06, that was the year that Doug Coletta and his crew decided to attempt to mock and insult Schumacher. That did not go well for you now, did it, Doug Coletta? But despite all the things that happened, oh yeah, I forgot, DX06. DX is what saved the wrestling world that year and really helped me out in terms of what was going on. DX06 really helped out the wrestling world. Hey, Whisty. But anyway, despite all the things that auto racing and wrestling did, 2006 will be known as the Game Show Odyssey. Yeah, mainly because of the incident, but they had a few other things going on with 5 to 6 different things going on. The 2 main specials, the 3 new shows, the one that debuted, I think, in December of 05, but it was pretty interesting. And throughout the entire thing, Tomarken was on my mind a lot, especially after the incident. And realistically, it took Bobby Hamilton Sr.'s death in 2007, and then the rest of the mayhem that started happening in 2007, because right after that was Benny Parsons, and then a bunch of other chaotic things started happening in 2007 in terms of death totals, because usually you hear about somewhere between 11 to 13 deaths per year initially. In 2007, it was 3 times as much, and that really irked me. But it took that entire 2007 year to basically get Tomarken out of my mind. And even though there have been off and on periods of GSN showing Pressure Luck, I always enjoy watching Pressure Luck and watching that show every chance I get. And when my boyfriend and I last winter went to Michigan and discovered the channel Buzzer, the show appeared 4 times per day, I was a very happy camper. But yeah, that's basically why the week of the incident was what it was in terms of very memorable for me, and why 2006 was very memorable for all the good reasons and all the bad reasons. And that was a very chaotic deal.
Alright, come on, Rusty, come on, okay. No, Rusty. Did you want to come to me? Come to me, Rusty.
Well, Rusty's not going to come into the video today, so, thank you for listening to my story. I wanted to express this because I told you guys in the promo, let me turn that off. I told you guys I was going to tell the story about 2006 Maramon's Game Show Odyssey in the Tomarken Night Unite promo video, and that's what I did. Basically telling you about the incident, what had happened, the week of it, the entire year of it, what saved the year, and it was a very chaotic year. So thank you everyone for listening to my story. I encourage you to check out the rest of the things going on with Tomarken Night Unite month. I got a couple more videos that I'm going to show by the end of this month. And then once Tomarken Night Unite month ends, I'll be back to your auto racing countdown specialist person and stuff. But thank you everyone for watching. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and that's my final answer.